Hey everyone, Tamara Tamu here. Welcome back to another episode of Unleashed Alchemy. Where on this channel, we talk about embracing your spiritual odyssey to go against the grain so that you can live confidently, function confidently in your spiritual gifts, and so that you can bring the unseen into the seen to live the soul-fulfilled life that you were put here to live. Welcome to this enchanting channel. That's what I love to call it as well. Thank you to new subscribers that are here. I love seeing people come through. You're finding the channel. There are now 142 of us, well actually 143 counting myself, who have raised our hand and said, you know what, we are the salt of the earth. We are powerful, energetic beings. Even if we don't completely, fully understand that logically, we intuitively know that we are part of, an extension of infinite intelligence. We have infinite intelligence flowing through our veins, and we are all here as a group, as a community of fellow magicians, alchemists, and we are here together. So that is exciting to me. So again, welcome. Let's get into today's episode. All right, now I want to talk about this because I see it perhaps it's always been there. This question has always been there, but I'm noticing it more and more and more. All right, perhaps I'm noticing it to talk about it more, but people are still asking, how do I find my calling? How do I find my purpose? All right. So we're going to deal with the question of how do I find my calling in this episode. First of all, why do people think they need to find their calling? So I have found that there are 6 avenues, that's the wrong word, but there are 6 reasons why, from my perspective, from what I've seen, even from what I have experienced myself through my entire life, all of my 47 years, 6 reasons why people ask this question. Why people ask, how do I find my calling? Or what is my calling? Or I don't know what my calling is. All of those, any iteration of that, that's what we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to go through these 6 things, these 6 reasons, and we'll just talk about them individually. All right. So the number one, and I have them numbered out. It does not indicate order of importance or whatever. So the first one is, people ask that question because they have a programmed view of what their calling should look like. The calling is attached to an aspect of themselves that was not considered favorable. Number 3, people still don't understand that calling is not something that is outside of you. Number 4, there are calling limitations and constructs, that bring resistance. Number 5, comparison. And number 6, people ask that question because they have not allowed for the calling to reveal from the inside out. They have not allowed that revelation to take place. They haven't gifted themselves the space and the time to sit, to allow for that to be revealed. So let's go back to the first one, the program view of what they feel like their calling should look like. What do I mean by this? So for many of us, for many of us, we can already sense what our calling is. Yet, because it doesn't appear to look like it fits into a certain lane, or it fits into a certain box, or it fits into a certain avenue, or it fits into something that's considered normal because it doesn't look a certain way, and because the ego has said, no, that's not your calling. It's not good enough. Or no, how could that be your calling? That doesn't even make sense. No one has ever done that before. Who do you think you are to do that? Who do you think you are to have that type of power, to even consider letting that type of power flow through you? All right. Then there's, okay, so you go through, it's not good enough. Then you could go through, you're not old enough, or you're too young. You're too young to do that. You're too young to have that type of influence. You're too young to act like you have that kind of wisdom to help other people. Or we can flip it. You're too old. No one's going to take you seriously. So you could have, you're too young. No one's going to take you seriously. And you could have, you're too old. No one is going to take you seriously. All right. So that's programming. So another reason why people still say, how do I find my calling? I need to find my calling. I haven't found my calling. Number two, the calling is attached to an aspect of yourself that wasn't considered favorable. So that's a lot. That's a mouthful. So let me explain. This is actually something that I'm going to dive deep into inside of the Magic School for our live session that is happening this month, next Friday, which is the 26th, at 7 p.m. Eastern. Okay, I'm doing a live workshop on how you are the energetic pioneer in your lineage. Part of realizing who you are as a spiritual being is knowing yourself and looking at all aspects of you, not just the ones that are labeled as good or acceptable, but those aspects that you try to push away because they're not viewed as favorable. So, spiritual focus brings self-revelation. So we're diving into this topic more. So if you have not already signed up, sign up to be a part of that powerful live session. Okay. So let me give you an example. So with me, I've got fire just flows through my veins. I'm a fiery person. Okay. I have come across as being aggressive. I'm very straightforward. I don't know how to sugarcoat. Okay, I love chocolate, I love fudge, but I didn't know how to sugarcoat. I should say, I didn't know how to sugarcoat. All right, I was straight to the point, and growing up, that was taken as, oh, that's mean. You know, you need to tone it down. That's off-putting. You know, people are gonna run from you if you do that. If you act that way. You need to be nicer. So while I was getting these messages that part of me was not favorable, I learned how to sugarcoat. And I shrank and shrank and shrank and shrank myself. Because we're not taught, and that's not to blame anyone, because guess what? We are not taught to accept all parts of us. We are not taught that we are alchemists. We are not taught to examine that side of us. So going back to my example, using myself as an example of having that type of aggressive and fiery and in your face approach with people, because even growing up, I was never impressed with people. So when I was introduced to people, you know, I was like, hey, hi. You know, I wasn't smiley, cheery. Hey, how you do? I was not like that. And so people were taken aback like that. When I was asked a question, I gave you a straightforward answer. And I can remember being a child and giving an answer, and the receiver was had taken a step back, like, whoa, I didn't know you were going to answer that way. So we weren't taught, and if you were taught to alchemize parts of you, aspects of you, to use it for your good, to infuse it with love and with wisdom so that it can be a source of magnetism for you, then you learn how to shrink yourself. You learn how, and this was not a part of this video, but when we shrink ourselves, that's when aspects of us, it becomes like almost a ticking time bomb, where if we don't deal with those aspects, it can, instead of going like this, eventually it starts to tick, 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 and boom. And that boom sometimes is not going to look good. It's going to be destructive because we haven't learned how to alchemize. Okay? So, and I want to say this, and I got ahead of myself. So we aren't taught to alchemize our aspects, but get this, that because it's a foreign concept. However, I thought it's interesting. I think it's very interesting that we are taught to accept other people, even to the detriment of honoring our own emotions. Accept other people. We're taught to accept other people before accepting aspects of ourselves. Isn't that interesting, right? So that's the second point. Let's go to the third one. So the third one here is that the reason why some of us still ask, how do I find my calling? Because we still have not grasped the truth that calling is not out there. Calling is in here. When you say, how do I find my calling? That implies that your calling is lost somewhere outside of you. It is not, okay? It is not. So, your calling is in front of you. It's in front of you, waiting for you to go internally and embrace it. What do I mean by in front of you? I mean, it is here. When you close your eyes, your calling is there. Yes. When you go to sleep at night, your calling is there. So it's not outside of you. Number 4, calling limitations and constructs. What do I mean by that? So we have put the idea of calling into a box by assigning how we should live it out. I will tell you from experience that calling isn't something that is like, here's a definite path, you take this path and you will fulfill your calling. No, you fulfilling your calling is looking like this. It's looking like this. It is not straightforward. And because the path is not straightforward, because the path may seem winding, or because we may feel like we're all over the place, because it's not, neatly packaged and professional. This goes back to comparison, or actually that's the next point. It goes to comparison, where we're seeing how other people are functioning, and it seems like they're functioning in their calling, and it seems packaged, and it seems pretty, and it seems, luxurious and beautiful, and it's well received. This person who's well received, and you're looking at your path, and from your perspective, from your logic perspective, not viewing it from the eyes of spirit, you're allowing comparison to take place. So the word calling in itself can have a construct, can be a construct in the matter in which we speak about it. We speak about calling, and the same thing with purpose. We speak about calling as if it is a definite, like, destination. It's like you're getting on a plane, you've made a trip to, we'll just say, I don't know why Grenada just popped up in my mind, but you've planned a flight to Grenada, you get to Grenada, there's your calling. No, it is not just this one destination. Okay, so let's say that you have, and you know that you've got this love, this passion, and this intuitive feeling that you know that you are meant to guide people to freedom. Freedom, the word freedom, that can apply to anything. It can apply to money. It can apply to travel. It can apply to, freedom can be, people having the freedom to have access to clean water. Okay. Having access to healthy food, not just food, but healthy food. That is, freedom, we could just go on and on and on. That road, you fulfilling your calling to help people live freely, to live wholly, to live in completeness, that could look like anything. And because there is no step-by-step path, it could take you on a winding path, which is meant to be exciting. It does not mean that you're not fulfilling your calling because it isn't packaged in some construct. Okay? So, fifth point is this: comparison. All right, so we talked about this a little bit. So here's the thing. For some of you that are watching, you've been in meditation. You have set out your intention when you wake up in the morning to have your calling be expressed through you in the most easeful, luxurious way, in the most fun way, in a profitable way. Yes, because you can, I don't care what anybody says, and I hear people say this, but yes, your calling can be attached to an avenue of wealth. Yes, wealth as in money. So let's just get that out the way. Source Spirit has shown you a vision, what your calling is, who you came here to be and exist as. You've gotten messages through words, you've gotten messages through visions, you've gotten confirmations through synchronicities. Yet you have compared that vision to what someone else is doing, or you've heard that someone else may be doing the same thing. And it's never the same thing because your fingerprint is different. So how could you ever move in life like someone else? So you've allowed your ego to get into your ear. You've allowed your ego to stand up taller than your calling. You've allowed your ego to stand up taller than your intuition. You've allowed your ego to stand up taller than your higher self, that divine source that's within you, to tell you that there is no room for you. Okay, that's what comparison does. So the last point is this. People ask, how do I find my calling? Because they have not allowed for the revelation to take place, because it is within them. It is within you. The calling comes out from you. It's magnetized through you. It's magnetized through you. All right? So there's too much of this. In that question, there is a sense of desperation. There's too much. There's a desperate approach, which leads to you thinking, oh my God, I got to find out what my calling is. I got to find my calling because I'm running out of time. Then you approach it too seriously, where actually I'm going to say this, to allow for your calling to be revealed to you once again, because you knew it. You're just getting reacquainted with it. You haven't lost it. You're getting reacquainted with it. You have to become like a child again. You have to allow yourself to play again. You have to allow yourself to imagine again. All right? So that chokehold from that energy of the desperate approach, it causes resistance. So now you put up a block because you've got this thing in a construct, you've got this thing in such a chokehold, it can't breathe through you. So you have to get to a point where the calling is breathing through you, where the calling starts to reveal itself to you. Then it starts to carry you when you allow it to do so. All right. So those are the 6 points. That's what I wanted to share with you in this video. Don't forget to get into the Magic School for this month. The live session is happening next Friday, the 26th, 7 p.m. All right. Also, don't forget that I still offer the one-on-one 90-day spiritual consulting package. All right. Where you will go from fear, from dogma, from religion to total spiritual ecstasy and freedom. All right. The link to sign up for the Magic School and or the 90-day spiritual package will be in the description box of this video. All right. Until next time. Cheers.